Hello there, my crafty friends. It's Ashley Pfeiffer, the maker behind Stamped AF. This week, I am going to show you how to make this cute little gift box, bag, whatever it is, for these little itty-bitty hearts. They're so cute. This is the actual size of them. I have yet to try them, and I'm showing great restraint. But I wanted to show you, this is using the Valentine Keepsakes stamp set. This is in the new January to June mini catalog. It is such a little wonderful stamp set. We've got this something sweet for someone sweet. We've got these growing hearts. We've got this bundle of hearts. It's just fantastic. The with love is so cute. You have my heart. It's just, I love it. Okay, so to make this little box, we need a box bag. I don't know what is it. It's hard enough to be a box, but it's got like a handle and the look of a gift bag. So you tell me what you want it to be. Is it a box? Is it a bag? We are going to cut this down to 7.5 by 9. So obviously we can't go to 9 on this side. So we're just going to take off 1 inch here and 2 inches on the long side. We are going to start on the bottom by scoring at 1 inch. And then on this side, we're going to do a 1/2 inch, 1 inch, and then we're going to turn it around and go to 1.5 inches. And then we're going to 4 3/4. I will put the measurements in the description below. 5 1/4, and then 5 3/4. Okay, so I am going to fold and burnish just with my fingers all of these score lines. We've got mountain and valley folds, but this is what creates this. So actually this one needs to be a valley fold. No big deal if it goes the wrong way to begin with. But this is essentially what we've got. Now, before I do anything else, I'm going to punch my hole. I really wanted to punch a heart for the handle, but on both, on any of the hearts that we have, the heart punches, it would have been upside down. So I opted to just go for a circle punch. You use whatever you have. And we'll push that all the way down just to know that it's good. There's our 2 circles. We can just throw those out. And then we'll do a little bit of cutting. I have to remember how I did this. This was done like a week ago, and I mean, you know me. Okay, so I'm going to just miter these sides just a little bit. We're just taking a little slice out. We'll miter that. Whoops, a little bit more. Pull all these guys out. And I believe with this one, we're taking that tab off. Okay, so before we start to assemble, we are going to do our stamping, because if you can see, this doesn't go onto the bottom. I just did it around. So let's grab our little heart, flower, I don't know what they are. They're growing hearts. And I'm going to do it all the way across. You could actually do this before you start doing all your scoring, but so we are not going to see that tab. But let's add a heart just in case. Whoops, I'm going to need to press a little bit harder. And it's okay if a little bit of it goes onto the bottom of the box. Be better to have that than to have a gap on the top. So you're just going to eyeball it, line it up, going across. You could use your Stamparatus. This looks so much better with a nice deep cherry cobbler. You can see where there's a score line. I need to press maybe a little bit harder. Give that ink a chance to seep in. So if you find that you have little spots that were missed, come in with your Stampin' Right marker. And this is another one that needs to be inked up, but just kind of scribble in. You don't want it to be too dark. These ones aren't overly dark to begin with, so I'm just kind of scribbling in that color. So there are quite a few things that the Stampin' Write markers can do. I often use them if I don't get a great impression the first time. They can work wonders. You can use them to ink up your stamps. I think that's probably pretty good. And they are refillable. I know that in the past I have heard people very surprised that they are refillable, but the same re-inker that you use for your ink pads can refill your markers as well. Going to add some tear and tape. You can use liquid adhesive, you can use Stampin' Seal Plus. For the side, I am going to use tear and tape, and then I will use liquid glue for the tabs. Now, actually, before I do that, because it's going to require some drying time, you might notice that I have some hearts stamped on the ribbon. Or you might have noticed that there's hearts on the ribbon. I did stamp them. I used this ribbon from the Flowers for Every Season suite. So I'm going to take probably about 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet, and we will stamp some flowers on here. Sorry, some hearts, not flowers. So I am using this stamp, so I'll mount that on a D block as well, and I'm using Rio Red this time. The cherry cobbler for the hearts was merely to make them stand out, so we're just going to stamp these randomly. If it's not straight, it's fine. If you miss a spot, that's fine, because we aren't going to see a lot of it. It's just enough to have them on there. And you might have noticed that the ink does run a little bit. That's okay. It's like they're throbbing hearts. But this does need to sit for a few minutes to dry. I kind of like it when it's on an angle like this so that we get a little bit more coverage. You can see when I do a straight line, we don't end up with anything on the top or bottom. So you can play around, experiment, and if you see any gaps like this one here, just go in and stamp it. Doesn't have to be perfect. It's ribbon, and it's going to be tied in a bow. And it is essentially what's keeping your recipient from getting into their chocolate. So they're basically just going to tear it out of the animal. Okay, so I'm going to set that aside and get rid of that. And now we can assemble our box. Our box bag. Okay, so let's just put that down, and we should be able to line those up. And now we can just glue these little guys down. So I like to put a little bit of glue on each of the tabs, and then I start with the back because I don't want the back of this to come to the front of the box. That probably doesn't make sense, but you'll probably see what I mean in a minute. So knowing that this is the back of our box, I want the front piece to come back here and not have this seam showing on the front of my box. And once you get that in there, you can take something long like the Take Your Pick tool and just press it all down. You could also probably throw a block in there for a minute or two. And that's it. Now I'm going to have it where that purple piece is at the bottom. Great little fit. And while we're still waiting for our ribbon to dry a little bit, we'll do our hearts. Okay, so I have a scrap of basic white here. Just going to stamp that. Let's do one more to be on the safe side in case I mess it up when I punch it. We're using the heart punch pack. There we go. And now we can stamp some hearts on the tag. And you can do that either with real red stamped off, or you can use Blushing Bride. I'm going to use Blushing Bride, so we'll just clean this up a little bit. I wonder how my hands get red. And I may still stamp it off. I want this to be subtle. Yeah, stamped off. We want to be able to read it. So I did half and half. Actually, it probably could have been stamped off one more time, but it is what it is. We'll tell you it's a lot trickier to do stamping when you can't have your head like right over it. We'll use the scallop punch for that one. We'll pop that up. Okay, and then when I'm ready to do the ribbon, I like to just take a tissue and rub along the ribbon just to get rid of any extra ink. Now this does, you can see it's making it bleed just a little bit, but I'd rather it bleed on the ribbon than on my hands. So a little bit came off. So now we're just going to thread this through and we can push that little crinkled part down. I said, get down. And just reinforce those valley folds. It's always easiest to kind of play with your bows before you've tightened it. So get it the way you want and then give it a good pull. Not impossible to adjust after you've pulled it, but if your ribbon has turned on you, it's going to be impossible afterwards. And then we'll just trim our tails. I don't want to cut too much off. Otherwise, I've used all that ribbon for nothing. And just go with what you're comfortable with. This bow is quite a bit looser than this one. Let's tie this just a little bit tighter. Doesn't have to be the prettiest bow in the world. It's really just to keep the box closed. Okay, so there we go. Let's move that grid paper out. I've got to go clean my red hands. But what do you think? There's a big difference between my re-inked cherry cobbler and my initial one. And then this could have been stamped off one more time, but I kind of like that the hearts are solid and visible. So let me know which one you prefer. Do you prefer my original sample where it's maybe a little more subtle, or do you prefer the bold in your face? If you create this, I would love to see your version of it. And if this was your first time here, welcome. A little late, I know. Please consider hitting that subscribe button below and you will catch a new video each and every week. If you need any Stampin' Up! Supplies to make this or any other project and you're not working with a demonstrator and you live in Canada, I would love to earn your business. You can find my shopping link below. If you'd like to join my team, Celebration is always the best time to do that. So I thank you so much for watching and we'll see you again soon, my crafty friends. Bye.